Now meet Tsutomu Yamaguchi, a regular Japanese guy, works at Mitsubishi, designs oil tankers for a living. He's somehow managed to be personally present for both of history's worst events and came out alive to tell about it, which is insane. Like, statistically, what are the odds of it? So in this video, we're going to get into exactly how that happened, because the details are somehow even more ridiculous than the headline. But first, a forgotten stamp. It's 1945. Tsutomu Yamaguchi is 29 years old, works as an engineer for Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, and has just wrapped up a 3-month work assignment in Hiroshima. He designs oil tankers. He is, by every available account, a completely normal guy, doing a completely normal job, and on August 5th, he is ready to go home. Home for Yamaguchi is Nagasaki, about 5 hours by train. He's got a ticket, he's got his bags, he is done with Hiroshima. But he doesn't leave, because sometime that morning, Yamaguchi realizes he has forgotten his humko, a personal identification stamp that every Japanese worker carries, the kind of thing you need for basically any administrative task. He goes back to get it. That one detour keeps him in the city one extra day. August 6th becomes August 7th. It's 8:15 in the morning. Yamaguchi is walking to the shipyard to wrap up some final business before catching his train. The sky above Hiroshima is clear. He's walking along, probably thinking about getting home, when he hears a rumbling overhead. He looks up. There's a B-29 bomber moving across the sky, and then, as he watches, something drops from it. Something small, attached to 2 parachutes just floating down toward the city below. He has maybe 4 seconds to register what he's looking at before the sky becomes a white light so intense he later compared it to burning magnesium, and he throws himself into a nearby ditch. Then the sound arrives. Not an explosion exactly, more like the atmosphere itself clapping shut, a sonic boom that he described as filling the entire atmosphere. Then darkness. When Yamaguchi comes back to consciousness, it's still dark. Not nighttime, it's mid-morning, but the debris cloud from the explosion has risen high enough to block out the sun entirely. The city around him is on fire. His eardrums have burst. His face and arms are scorched. He is lying less than 2 miles from the hypocenter of the first atomic bomb ever used on a human city in the history of warfare. And he is alive. The reason that forgotten stamp matters is that it's proof this story has no grand design behind it, no fate, no narrative logic. Just a guy who lost a piece of office equipment and missed his train by 24 hours. That's it. That's the whole setup. Quick interruption, if you're the kind of person who enjoys learning about the weirdest moments in human history, subscribe. We're building a whole catalog of exactly this kind of story, and you're gonna like what's coming next. Back to the video. Now, survived Hiroshima sounds like the end of a sentence, like, great, he made it, that's it. But it's worth spending 30 seconds on what that actually looked like on the ground, because without it, what comes later doesn't fully land. Yamaguchi wakes up in the dark, confirms his legs are still attached and working, and starts moving. 2 hours after the bomb drops, he makes it to what's left of the shipyard. There, he finds 2 colleagues, Akira Iwanaga and Kuniyoshi Sato, who have also survived. The 3 of them spend the rest of that day and the following night in an air raid shelter, and then they try to get to the train station. On the way, they pass through what Hiroshima has become. Bodies in the streets, a bridge that had collapsed into the river, and when they reach it, the 3 men wade through the water, which is not water anymore. Yamaguchi later described it plainly, without drama, the way you describe something your brain still hasn't fully processed. They reach the station. Somehow it's still running. They board a train full of people who look exactly like them, burned, bandaged, silent, and the train heads southwest. And here is the thing. Nagasaki from the outside looks fine. Intact buildings, normal streets. Yamaguchi steps off the train into a city that has no idea what he just came from. He didn't go somewhere safe, he went somewhere that felt like normal, and there is a difference, and that difference is about to matter enormously. But first, he has to tell his wife what happened. She sees him come through the door. He is covered in burns and wrapped in bandages from head to toe. She says, "What happened to you?" He says, "Work was a little rough. I made that last part up, but the rest is real." Okay, this is the part. This is the moment the story becomes something you tell people at dinner for the rest of your life. Yamaguchi has survived Hiroshima. He has crossed a destroyed city, boarded a train, arrived in Nagasaki, and rested for 2 days. It is now August 9th, 1945, and Tsutomu Yamaguchi goes back to work, not because he's required to, not because he doesn't know what he just survived. He goes back to work because that's what you do. He shows up at the Mitsubishi offices in Nagasaki, still bandaged, still recovering, and he sits down across from his supervisor. His supervisor is not thrilled with him. Yamaguchi had apparently lost track of his colleagues during the chaos, which, fair point, there was a nuclear bomb, and his supervisor is giving him a hard time about it. But eventually, the conversation turns to Hiroshima, to what Yamaguchi saw. So Yamaguchi explains. He says a single bomb destroyed the entire city. His supervisor looks at him and says, and this is documented, that this is impossible. One bomb cannot destroy an entire city. Yamaguchi has clearly lost his mind. He's been through something traumatic. He's confused. He probably needs rest. One bomb does not do what Yamaguchi is describing. Yamaguchi opens his mouth to respond. It is 11:02 a.m. on August 9th, 1945. The room turns white. The second atomic bomb has just detonated over Nagasaki. Yamaguchi, for one brief second, genuinely thought the mushroom cloud had followed him from Hiroshima. His supervisor, who had just finished explaining why one bomb cannot destroy an entire city, did not get to finish that conversation. Tsutomu Yamaguchi, still bandaged from the first bomb, in the middle of describing the first bomb, just survived the second bomb. There are no words for the timing of that. Speaking of things that are hard to explain, if you want something slightly less radioactive, we put out a video on the dumbest war in history. It started because someone stole a bucket. It is exactly what it sounds like. Link is somewhere on screen. At some point after the second explosion, Yamaguchi climbs out of a shattered window, ignores his supervisor's cries for help, probably fair, and makes his way home to his wife and infant son, who were thankfully unharmed. Then he collapses. For the next week, Yamaguchi hovers somewhere between alive and not. Fever, open burns, no hospital, it had been destroyed, no treatment. He later described that period as a kind of fog, where he wasn't sure from one day to the next whether he'd make it to the next one. And then, on August 15th, he comes around, and outside, people are cheering. Japan has just surrendered. Yamaguchi goes on to live to 93. He outlives both of his colleagues who survived Hiroshima with him. He outlives his wife, who died at 88 from radiation-related organ failure. He outlives his son, who died of cancer at 59, the long shadow of the exposure he received as a baby in Nagasaki. Yamaguchi himself goes deaf in one ear, develops cataracts, contracts acute leukemia. He survives that too. For most of his life, he says very little publicly about any of it. He was recognized by the Japanese government as a survivor of Nagasaki, just Nagasaki, and for a long time, he was fine with that. But in his 80s, something shifted. Yamaguchi began testifying to journalists, to documentary filmmakers, to the United Nations. He applied for official recognition as a survivor of both bombings in January 2009. The government confirmed it 2 months later. He was 93 years old. It had been 64 years. He was asked, near the end of his life, what he thought about the bombs. He said, "They could have made their point by dropping a 1. 1 was already too much." The man who survived both atomic bombs spent his last years being the world's only double-certified eyewitness to what nuclear weapons actually do to a human city and to a human body. He didn't ask for the credential. The credential arrived in the form of 2 separate explosions. And then, eventually, he decided to use it. He died in January 2010, stomach cancer, 93 years old. Most people get one reason to never forget a Tuesday. Tsutomu Yamaguchi got 2. If this is the kind of story you want more of, subscribe, because there's a whole lot more where that came from. And click the next video on screen. See you there.